And I believe we are live. What's up, everybody? A little bit late. Had some technical issues to work out, but I think we're all good now. And today, I kind of decided to have a impromptu Solar Eclipse Special. I haven't done one of these live shows in quite a while, but Rodney messaged me yesterday and threw this out there, and I thought that's a good idea. I think I can, make this work in my schedule. So we got it done, and here we are. So um, basically, we're just going to be going over the astrological implications of this eclipse, a little bit about the overall April outlook, astrologically speaking, and then probably just do some kind of general riffing after that. So, as usual, for those unfamiliar with the live show, I will, once we're done kind of with our thing, I will drop the invite link into the comments. So, anyone who has a question or wants to say something can jump onto the show. We'll have an open discussion. Whoever wants to hop in and have kind of a round table, depending on how many people are interested. So that is the agenda for today. If you're tuning in already live, thank you for being here. I'm excited for today's show. So for without further ado, let's jump into it. Awesome. So again, thank you for being here. If you haven't yet, you know what to do to that like button.
Smash, smash. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's been a while since I've been able to use that animation, so that's always fun. All right, well, let's get into it. Without further ado, let's bring Mr. Rodney Goodwin on the show. Astrodney, what's up, brother man?
Hey, how's it going?
Going good, man. Just
Yeah.
another day in the life. But I posted up here at the at a little rest or service area up here in near Pennsylvania. What do you call it? Not Pittsburgh. Philly, near Philly.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
Don't
got
tread
some
on Philly, right? Don't tread on Philly.
right. Got some mystical events happening today,
Dude, man,
right?
the end is near, man. The end is
Right?
near. It's yeah.
Yeah, I've been praying all morning, saying my forgive me's and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
As the late Jim Morrison would say, the end is my only friend.
Yeah. This is the end.
This is the end.
Yeah, sing that to the sun. Awesome, man. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. I'm sure you've got lots of good insights to share on this event from, as I framed it, an empowered perspective, right? We're not coming
Yeah.
at this from doom and gloom
Oh,
and
no.
obviously something I want to get into later on is kind of like the two ends of that extreme. But yeah,
Yeah. With with any eclipse, it's signaling something again, and I kind of did a like a retrospect in context to 2017 eclipse that was obviously very popular. A lot of people went in different places to get into the path of the total solar eclipse, and doing the same thing with this one pretty much. I know a lot of people that are over down in Hot Springs and over in Arkansas and Missouri and stuff trying to catch the path. Um, it's just like anything else. The United States is getting a signal, in context to, this particular solar eclipse. Aries 19 degrees conjunct Chiron, and so we also have a conjunction with Mercury, which is off a little bit, 3 degrees or so, with this particular eclipse, which is also signaling ancestral energy as well. So we have some interesting things happening here, as this is a direct conjunction with Chiron at 19 degrees, with this particular eclipse. So it really is signaling something very, very powerful in context to our own personal lives. I mean, we could look at it from a collective, point of view, but really with the Aries energy, it's about yourself. and it's about igniting yourself into your warrior energy and something that you can forge with the fire aspect being the initiatory or cardinal fire. So when we're dealing with the Aries energy, to that aspect, we have to look at our own personal lives, and we can go back to 2017 and just look at where we were, with our consciousness, where we were mentally, where we were physically, emotionally, all the way down the line, materially. And then we can take a kind of a retrospect over these last 6.5 to 7 year, kind of period where we're at right now. I think that last eclipse was August 21st, 2017, and so that was in the Leo energy. So it was also a fire element that we were dealing with as well. So we're kind of still in this fire element eclipse. And I think this is kind of wrapping up that fire element in context to the eclipse, because the next one the United States will have is in, I think, 2037. So, we've got 13 years before the next one. So this is really signaling an empowerment to the self, an empowerment to your warrior energy, an empowerment to get your ass in gear, get yourself healed onto the next level. With the Chiron, the Chiron energy, look and see where are the areas in your life now that you're still eclipsed in context to your sun, to your heart core intelligence. Where is it that you're still struggling?
Real quick before we continue, again, appreciate. I see some good comments coming in. Thanks everyone for being here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And Rodney, would you mind just kind of explaining what is the sort of generic significance of a solar eclipse before we go into the specifics of the particular placements of this one?
Sure.
What is the kind of like broader meaning of that?
So basically, the moon is eclipsing the sun in between the earth and the sun. So it's eclipse. So it's coming across, basically, and it's creating what we call a corona. So where you can't see the sun, but you can see the outside edges of it. And
Mhm.
and so the eclipse energy, depending on what sign it is, what degree it is, these type of things, is basically signaling, certain aspects or demarcation points that are taking place. I mean, we have them every year. It's nothing new, but it's interesting because when you get it close to home, when you get it on your land, when you get it, in the area that you live in, or even in, in the States here, it becomes an event. So, we get these, I mean, solar eclipses happen, lunar and solar eclipses happen every year. But, this one in particular is very interesting because it is conjunct the Chiron energy, and Mercury as well. So the solar eclipse is just signaling something in context to the energies that we need to be looking at into our, not only our own individual selves, but kind of in retrospect, looking on a collective level as well, and seeing where the energies are at. Where am I still applying myself as an individual? Where my my moon is eclipsing my sun, where I'm not navigating my kingdom correctly. I believe that everything is as within as without. We have vibrational correspondence that's always happening. And so this is a signaling in the sky. So what we're seeing in the sky is what's happening within us. And so when we see these particular eclipses, because we are still on a 23.4 axis off of true north. So some people believe that these eclipses don't happen when we are actually at true north. If, say, the Earth was at true north, we probably would the ecliptic aspect wouldn't be out of distortion like this. We wouldn't see these type of eclipses happen because of the actual alignment that we would be to true north, and not on the tilt and not off, kind of that type of premise. And so when we're seeing this type of these eclipses, the lunar eclipses, the solar eclipses, that type of stuff, it's showing us a pattern of kind of helping us to get out of the distortions, get out of the reversals, get out of the the tilt of the earth and reconnect to our true roots, our ancestral roots, our animism, and get back into connecting with nature, get back into connecting with the true understanding of who we truly are in the grand cycle of things. And so the eclipse just has a way of amplifying that energy to bring it to our consciousness. So as you can see, everybody's putting their consciousness upon this eclipse right now. It's all
Mhm.
over the news. People are driving all over the place to get to the path of it. So there's a lot of consciousness and energy being put upon this particular eclipse.
Right. And of course, as usual, it's all the external focus. It's a kind of a materialist mindset event.
Yeah, it's a party event for a lot of people. They're just going to go. It's another reason to party. And so when you start to look at the internal reality of what an actual eclipse is, I made a post yesterday about it. It's a short
Mhm.
post, but
I saw that.
the actual condition of the human heart, or the condition of humanity's heart, being eclipsed by the moon energies itself, in context to that, and not wanting to actually look at the pain involved with betrayal. And when we're looking at this type of energy, especially with Chiron, this is the wound. This is the wound, and it's also the gift. So when we're looking at the woundedness of humanity, it is the betrayal of our own heart core intelligence, our own sun, from within us, our soul spark, that has been going on now for quite a while, quite tens of thousands of years, who knows how long. So that is what the eclipse is signaling to Aries. And when we look at Aries, what are we looking at? We're looking at Mars. We're looking at the octave. We're looking at Scorpio. We're looking at, not only our warrior energy, but we're looking at transformation as well. So we're looking at that first house and that eighth house. And, this is traditionally where Mars is placed in context to, the energies that it carries. And so when you're looking at that first gate of Aries, that is the world axis in context to the 1-7 axis when we're looking at Aries and Libra, and that is the Grand Cross, or the Axis Mundi. So that's part of how things are rolling out here, to not only analyze ourselves on an individual level, but take a real evaluation of where I can empower myself to the next level, to bring my own personal life and my own personal consciousness to the next level. And take an honest look at where I'm not facing that pain, where I'm not actually facing, the shadow aspects of my own life, and now really take a true evaluation of those, and look at them for what they are, and then say, okay, now my warrior man has to come online here, because now I've got to forge through this veil of limitation that I have placed, that's been placed upon humanity, that's been placed upon my heart core intelligence, and now it's time to forge something greater in our lives. And I believe that's a lot of what this eclipse is signaling.
Hmm. Yeah, it's always about that solar path.
It is, yes,
Everything comes
exactly.
back to that, especially. Would you say you could interpret it like that? Um, so the moon represents the mind in
Yes,
astrology, more or
yes,
less, and then the sun is the soul. Um, I could see how this could kind of be viewed in two different ways, even from that correspondence perspective. Where, in one way, it could be that your mind is blocking the light of the sun, or your mind or your emotions are getting in the way of your true calling and your true soul path. That would be one way. The other way is it's the alchemical wedding, where the
right.
two are becoming one. They're
Hmm.
actually merging together, and they're in literal and metaphysical alignment, right? And this is where you get the imagery of the wedding ring.
Yeah,
Is you have that corona with the little beam of light, at the top. And so, like most things in nature, there's like a light and a dark, a positive and a negative connotation to that. And it really always comes back down to, where are you at? What choices are you making? Are you in alignment with nature and I mean,
yeah,
nature itself and your
right.
own nature? or are you in opposition to it?
Yeah, the sun and the moon are always chasing each other around the sky, and then they meet. They meet once a year with the eclipse, and it is signaling. You could even look at it as the positive and negative charge, the feminine masculine aspect
Yeah.
there as well, coming together. But it also is interesting because we do have a conjunction with Mars and Saturn in Pisces at the moment as well, which is also the ring when we're talking about contracts. So, when you're looking at the kind of eclipse energy that we're dealing with this, and I keep going back to this, but it's a very powerful message that's being sent right now in conjunction with Chiron. And Chiron is our place of healing when we look at our between the sub realms and the actual consciousness that we're wielding, and what we really haven't been able to enlighten yet. And so that path there, we look at the asteroid belt, and we it's like, okay, so how do we get through or navigate through that asteroid belt consciously? And that's your moon energy, because your moon is your GPS, it's your navigation, it's your thought and emotion that has to become in alignment. It is thought and emotion when it is in alignment. This is where humanity gets swung, and they get raked out, because they're not in alignment with their true balance of nature and natural law. So what happens is they get pulled to the left, they get pulled to the right, with all of the the dark psyops that get thrown out. And look, back in 2020, when when the needlecraft and all that shit got thrown out, this was the energy that they used to do this. It was the alignment of 6 planets in Aries sitting here, and boom, that's when they threw all this out. And so when we're looking at this type of energy, not only do we have to look at, okay, so this is a space where I can empower myself. This is a space where I can truly bring myself into a place where I can actually look at my warrior energy for a chance and see where I still need to be healed. But then on the flip side, we look at the dark mages and how they are running the programs in context to this. And most of humanity still has their head up their ass. They still are not connecting with their heart. They're not connecting with the intelligence of their heart, because their moon's getting jammed. The moon is eclipsing the sun of their own true soul. So their soul isn't even engaged. Their soul is not engaged in the actual realm that we call Earth here. And so they just walk around with being manipulated day after day after day. This is that signal to us as humanity to say it's time to empower yourself through this bullshit and actually learn about who you are, the self.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what this is dealing with, because our gift is sitting there in the midst of Chiron saying, hey, I want to be activated. It's time to activate this gift within you that can empower you to the greatness that is within you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I am looking at in context to this. I've been setting myself up and empowering myself, through certain aspects, through certain things that I put into action over the last few months because this is what was being signaled. I saw it coming. And it's like, okay, this is signaling. And so now it's time to empower ourselves to actually forge something within the reality field that's going to make a difference, because your choices fucking matter, man. They matter.
Exactly. Yeah. It was kind of wild to me. I didn't realize that the last one of these was in 2017. When you made that post yesterday, I mean, it like struck me. I was like, wow, dude, if I look back, what was I doing back then? That's the year that I started, that I became a truck driver. And I feel like that's when my more, I don't even know how to exactly word it. Obviously, your whole life is a spiritual journey. But there was something about when I took that step towards becoming a truck driver, it was like I really stepped on a different path. And ever
Right.
since then, everything started shifting for me, like internally and externally. I had such major growth that year in my confidence, my
Yeah.
ability to manifest things, my sort of independence and my financial situation. That's the same year. Well, actually, 2 years later, I started the Wizard Factory, which was over the road as well. So, I mean, like so many things really started kind of like taking shape at that time. What's interesting to think about is, that was only what, 6 years ago, 6 or
Yeah.
7 years ago,
Yeah.
and now that the next one is 13 years away, so that's a
Right.
pretty good like longer jump there. So it's kind of just crazy to think about what is humanity going to look like in 13 years. A lot can happen in 13 years, and I mean, we see so much going on right now between just general moral decay and all the manipulation of the institutions, as well as the rise of technologies and things
Yeah.
like AI. I mean, there's a big shitstorm stirring with all of those elements together. So, I mean, like in 13 years, things could be like a dystopian nightmare, or we could see some real shifts towards more awareness, more freedom, more self-empowerment, and those kind of things. Like it's going to go one way or another for sure. Like humanity cannot continue to sit on the fence for much longer. Like nature is, the winds are blowing in all directions, and you're eventually
Yeah.
going to have to pick what fucking side you're going to be on.
Yeah. I mean, there are two timelines running in context to this. I think in 2017 was an ancestral awakening as well. I could feel that,
Mm.
and I think that that's been said. And I felt like that. We saw some of the groups coming out of Scandinavia. Like Heilung and
Yeah, that's
early that
around the
Wardruna.
That's
And
around the same time that I started even connecting with like the Norse traditions and stuff like that. Before that,
right.
I didn't even consider myself pagan at all before then.
Right, exactly. So this was, I think, these soul codes, these blood codes started awakening during that period of time, especially during that eclipse. I remember I was at some of my friends' place up in South Dakota, and I remember, right before that eclipse hit in 2017, I remember sitting at the table and I got a glimpse into my soul. And I looked into it and I said, "Oh my God, I'm such a mess." And I just broke down. I literally broke, my consciousness just like broke down. I started weeping at the table. I'm like, "What the
Mm.
fuck am I gonna do?" And that was the call for me
Yeah,
personally. That
you ans-
eclipse
you
of
answered your own
2017,
question.
what it was the
What are
call
you
for
gonna
me
do?
to get my shit together. See, and so then that, and then not too long after that, I a guy named Andrew Bartzis, he's called the Galactic Historian, had Seth Boza on, and so I was listening to that podcast because I had been following Andrew Bartzis, and then when Seth came on, I really connected with his energy because he was talking about a lot of the stuff that I had been thinking about and connecting with. And so I hit him up, and then not long after that, I actually initiated with him at Black Earth Productions in 2017, right after that eclipse. So that kind of like sparked me and set me then onto the path of knowing myself. And so that was a very big year. And then that's when my ancestral code started coming on line, and I started getting these dreams and visions, and all this stuff started happening to me that I'm like, whoa, there's something greater here that that I'm a part of, that I'm just now seeing, I'm just now becoming aware of. And so I think that this eclipse then is giving us a like a supercharge, man. It's like giving us a turbo boost, in the charger, man. It's like boom, here's the let's put that turbo in the engine, man, because it's time now to turbocharge to the next level and get your warrior on. And that's what I feel a lot of this is connecting to, because when we look at Chiron, we're looking at Ophiuchus as well in context to that connection. And Ophiuchus then becomes the 13th gate in context to that. And that is where Eclipus and the real healing takes place to your transformative aspect. And that's really what we're dealing with, is that return to the cosmic ether in context to Ophiuchus itself. And I don't want to really get into that too much, but I just wanted to throw that out there. You guys can go research that and look at that. But that is another aspect to this when we're looking at this conjunction with Aries to the Chiron energy, to the Ophiuchus energy, and when we're looking at the actual healing and transformation of the dragon energy within our lives. And this is really the dragon energy that we're up against right now, which is the shadow aspect when we're looking at the ego and the tyrannical, narcissistic aspect that's out there in the political and religious realms.
Yeah.
So if you're still in that shit, the political and religious bullshit, and you're still dabbling in that stuff, and your mind is still, your consciousness is still being pulled into that, you're still dealing with first veil stuff. You need to get out of that stuff. You need to pierce that stuff, because that is only going to poison your soul. That's what religion and polytricks are all about.
Right.
They're just
disconnect you from yourself,
Exactly.
disconnect you from your purpose, from nature. Yes, it's a schism program.
It's exactly what it is. Yes. Yeah, and it's devised, it's divide and conquer. It's there to separate yourself from yourself. And that is exactly what it does, to people and to their mind and to their consciousness. So no longer are they wielding their own consciousness, it's the program that's wielding it. And until you get honest with yourself and look at where your consciousness really is, and that's what this is signaling today, where is my consciousness wielding in context to my own self and knowing who I am, then you can get honest with yourself and really take a look. And then you're really starting to look at something. You're starting to forge something. You're starting to look into the actual mirror of your own soul.
It all begins with self-awareness. Absolutely. That is the great work. And it seems like there's a lot of kind of healing theme coming through what you're describing with everything with Chiron, and that does align with what I've seen shared around on some of, like, say, the Egyptian beliefs around the solar eclipse. It's so funny how people are kind of cherry picking different stories and narratives to kind of corroborate their own take on this. So I saw something shared around today about certain Indian tribes, like maybe the Navajo. They're like, oh, they don't look at the eclipse and they think it like it's this kind of negative thing, and if you look at it, it might make you sick and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, maybe, but that's not the only perspective of, like, a animist, culture about an eclipse.
Right.
And I was going to refer to the Egyptian perspectives that, again, I just read about this, so I don't know for sure, but it is seen as a very healing thing, not only for the individual but for the earth itself. It's like a purifying kind of cleansing thing, that's what healing is all about, right? Is sort of disinfecting the putrefaction of your own psychological wounds. And there's a great power in tapping into that. If you are doing that work, why wouldn't you want to use that as a resource for yourself? Because there's always healing to be done. And even among so many who understand the problems very well, they can point to the problems, that they very rarely are pointing to themselves among that. And people who seem very spiritual or politically aware or whatever it may be, that are kind of externally facing, I see very few people who are really focusing in on the healing work. Now, and the ones that are tend to be more oblivious to the external problems, like more of the kind of new agey people who are all about, like, the plant medicine and the Reiki and stuff like that, which is awesome. All of that's awesome, but they would be the same people that kind of like, oh, I don't feed the negative by, like, giving it my energy and that kind of thing. So there's another dialectic right there of the two sides of the spectrum, of either ignoring the problems and focusing too much exclusively on healing, or perfectly identified the problem and not doing that internal shadow work, which is going to, as within, so without. We could totally dismantle government overnight, and if we haven't done that internal healing, then another one would pop up in its place, because
Yeah.
that's the irony of, like, a lot of the apologists of the statist perspective will say, oh, well, like, government's just this vacuum of power, and if you take one out, another one would arise. Well, that is true if people aren't doing the healing work and also objectively knowing immoral behavior and not engaging in that or promoting that or supporting that. Those would be the things that would had to happen to prevent this, like naturally emergent power structure to continually keep popping up. But those things can happen. That's what these people are not acknowledging, in that, oh, like, it's just inevitable, it doesn't matter what you do, another government would just pop up. Well, not if these predetermining factors are in place. Just because it's
Right.
unlikely doesn't mean it's not possible. It's only a choice away. Just like anything is only one choice away. Now, that choice can be
Yeah.
hard as fuck to make, but all we have to do is choose it, and that begins that process of true change.
Right. And again, it goes back to self awareness. If you don't have the awareness, you're not going to make the choice, because
Yes.
the choice is not going to present itself to you,
Awareness creates choice.
because you aren't aware of the choice. you
Right.
know and that's a lot of the problem with humanity, is they're on the cycles of and loops, and they keep making the same insane fucking choices over and over and over, not actually looking at a viable alternative, which would be what which would be actually becoming a moral human being. And
Personally responsible.
exactly,
Yes.
not only for your thoughts, but your actions. And that is where humanity needs to get. I don't honestly, we are looking at, two timelines here that are presenting themselves at the moment. And like you Logan, and myself, we've already made our choice. I mean, there isn't any other choice but what we're doing right now.
Yep.
And we've already passed that point of no return. We're not going back to the religious bullshit or the political bullshit. That stuff has been burnt. It's been burnt to ashes in our lives. And so, this is where people have to become. They have to get to that space where they can actually go back to the 0 point of their own lives and say, you know what, I will never ever go back to that shit, because now I have awareness and I can see it for what that is, and now I can truly make the choices to empowerment, to cosmic principle, and natural law, and be able to become the best possible human being that I can become.
Mhm.
And if everyone started to garner that mindset, to cultivate that, that mindset, we would start to see the governments of this world be dismantled. They would start to crumble, because there's no energy feed, no consciousness feeding that government any longer. And
Yes.
there would be no replacement because that would be burnt to ashes itself. That
Right.
programming would be burnt to ashes. And so this is where humanity has to get, and we're looking at all these programs running people's minds, running people's lives, keeping them in the dark, keeping them eclipsed, keeping them in a place where they're not empowering themselves. They're just going about their daily lives and doing what they do every day that they did the day before and the day
Mm.
before that, not actually asking the questions, who the fuck am I and why am I here?
Mhm. And
What is
whose
my
life are you
purpose?
living?
And what am I living for?
Yeah.
And if people
You
would
know,
start to ask those questions, then things would start to change.
that's really quite profound when you think of it, about it like that, is that right now the world is a place where that statement is true, what I said earlier, where if we just took the government out, there would be a new one overnight, probably just pop right back up, because of that correspondence of the shadow, unhealed and unintegrated shadow aspect of the self collectively. Now imagine if we all did that work and did shift the mindset, where
Yeah.
because only a wounded, demoralized, damaged person will accept government, let alone plead and beg for it. Like, we need this, right? That's what the slave says. We need masters to be free.
Right.
It's that backwards doublespeak kind of thing. Now, just imagine if we all did that work and truly understood that it's not just about understanding that authority is illegitimate, right? Because that's not on a personal level. It's when you truly heal, you restore the wholeness of your being, and you will not tolerate anything less than true respect
Right.
because you respect yourself.
Exactly.
And so any man that steps up and says, "Yes, I'm your government," you say, "Get the fuck out of my face. There is no other external authority other than myself over my own dominion of my kingdom." So on the inverse of that, where this world is now a place where a government would just keep popping up like a whack-a-mole, the exact inverse would be true, where if every man is and woman is standing in their
Yeah.
sovereignty,
Right.
that the moment a government tried to step up and say, "Oh yes, I own you, slave," it
Right.
would get stamped the fuck out
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something to really think about.
Yeah. And that is the truth of it, is that, the government is just governing the mind of the people, and whatever. I mean, look, man, I started this business. The government's double and triple dipping on taxes, man, all the way across the board. It's unbelievable, the
Yeah.
bureaucracy and red tape you have to go through to start something. And it's like you look at it and you go, wow, this is what we've become. I mean, what people don't really understand is that right now we live in a dystopian society. This is no
Right.
bullshit. It
Right.
is dystopian, period.
We're already in
And
the Hunger Games, man.
we're already here. And that's what people don't get. They don't understand that this is where we are at right now. And our hope is, and again, we can only govern ourselves. I have a moral responsibility to govern my mind,
Right.
myself, in morality to choice. And that is my responsibility as a citizen of the universe, citizen of this planet, an actual being of this planet that's here in incarnation, to fulfill my purpose of incarnation upon this planet in a moral fashion. That is my responsibility. And if everyone would take that responsibility for themselves, like you said, and they would start to actually forge that within the mind of their own being, then we would see things change so fast that it would blow people's minds what would happen on this planet. I mean, literally, things would start to really flourish, and we would no longer, be in a narcissistic, tyrannical, inverted, reversed mindset in context to letting something or someone else or some entity outside of ourselves regulate our consciousness.
Mhm.
And this is what we are doing. This is the great work, and this is why we're doing these podcasts. It's why I do astrology. It's the reason why I help empower people, and try to support the great work, is because of this reason. And I think that a lot of people, they've got to get to this place in their own personal lives where they're not a victim anymore, Logan, where they
Yeah.
come out of that true victim mentality, and entitlement mindset, whereas they're owed something, or something needs to be given to them because they're too fucking lazy to change their mind and forge something for themselves.
And those two go hand in hand. It's like, "Oh, I'm a victim, therefore I'm owed this," right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this whole conversation about the split, the diverging roads of humanity is so important. I mean, I've been observing this develop, for years. I've been becoming more aware of it, and I feel like right now the roads are still kind of close together, right? You're
Yeah.
walking this road, but the other road is just like right over there,
Yeah.
and you just gotta just steer over there a little bit. But the further we get along, they're gonna get further and further and further apart. And
Yeah.
like, so like the time to choose is now, because first of all roads lead to truth. You just Human beings are fucking stubborn and ignorant and insist on doing things the hard way most times, right? We're just hard-headed like that. But it's like you can either get there like the easy way or the hard way. Well, the easier way, I should say, or the harder way, because there is no easy way. You've always got to do the work. But it's never going to be as easy as it is now. And the longer you wait and the longer you procrastinate, just like with anything else, then it's even more painful, because you're delaying that, right? You're kicking the can
Yeah.
down the road, and
Yeah.
then you've got all this extra ground you got to cover just to get back on track. And you're going to do it, believe me, you're going to do it one way or another. So now is the time to make the right choice, to get on the right side of history and start putting in the work now, rather than the extra work that is could have been avoided, really.
Yeah, and that's really when you're speaking of that, that's really taking it back to the Chiron energy in context to this conjunction, because what's happening there is that you have your wound and you have your gift. That is the two timelines. So when we're looking at this in context to this, the wound becomes: am I going to continue to wallow in my mire, eat my own vomit like a dog, bring myself into a position where I'm going to, be a victim, continue just to allow this wound to fester, not do anything to heal it, not do anything to bring it into a place where I'm actually forging some healing within that woundedness. I'm just going to allow the flies to continue to come in and lay the maggots, lay the lies, see? And let those lies then be rebirthed again on the cycles, on the loops. And this is where we're talking about it in context to where humanity is, and so, but then the other timeline is the gift, right? It's the gift of who you are as a human being. It's the gift of who you are as a soul incarnate into this realm. And your sun energy, your kingdom, what you're here to build, what you're here to forge, your incarnational purpose is on the line here. Your system mechanics will burn out eventually if you don't get your shit together. Because the more you continue to allow your soul spark to be siphoned, the more energy gets pulled from your soul. And so this is why regeneration has to take place in context to healing. And this is the choice that's being signaled in the sky right now. See, this is our choice as a human race to get our shit together. This is what's signaling with the eclipse right now. And
Mm.
so when we're looking at these two timelines, yeah, they're close together right now, and they're kind of doing this thing. But guess what? As we continue on, as time will be time, those timelines are going to come further and further and further apart, to the point where you're not going to be able to find that jump back onto to the original timeline, to your healing timeline. Because guess what's happening? You are integrating into an artificial intelligence with your physical body now. This is
Mm.
where we're at right now. This is what's being
Yeah.
signaled. Are you going to organically regenerate your mind, your spirit, your soul to spirit connection? Or are you going to allow that disconnect to continue to take place, and allow that, that other side where the moon is eclipsing your sun, but you're not actually coming into union with your sun and your moon? See, that is what we're talking about here. This is what you mentioned. This is what I mentioned. That is what's happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. There is a point of no return. At a certain point, you're not going to be able to double back. Maybe in the next life. That's kind of
Right.
what I was getting at when I said you'll get
Yeah.
there one way or another, but the hard way, right? Um, but in this life, you may not have another chance. The further along that road you go, and especially when you start merging with the machines physically and that kind of thing, like
Yeah.
you've basically sacrificed your humanity at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
You
become
are.
a construct yourself, your very being. So that's not good, and it's
No.
avoidable. I was just thinking while you were talking about that being siphoned, and I was like, you know what? Like, no one is energy vampiring you, right? Like without your
Right.
permission is what I'm
Right.
saying. Like they're not just coming in and just like latching and sucking your energy off you. You're giving that to them
You're giving
willingly.
consent.
Just
Yes.
like the mythology of the vampire, right? They can only come in when you invite them in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's important to remember, is like, what are you giving your energy to willingly, and yet you feel drained and you feel like, oh, I can never get ahead, but look at all the dead weight that you've taken on, and and you've got nothing left for yourself. You know what I mean? That if you feel like you're not able to get in alignment with your own true path, to start get in charge of your own spindle of creation and what you're weaving through your own magic, maybe consider that the problem is just like what needs to be cut loose from your own energetic sphere,
Yeah.
and you'd be amazed how much more energy and creativity and capacity that you have if you just simplify and cut the dead weight off your back, all the dead elephants that are
And
piled up back there.
exactly. And that's what, that's what we're up against right now, and what's signaling. And, are you really going to are you going to actually take an evaluation? This is the time. This is what's being signaled. Are you going to take an evaluation of your own condition? Where am I at right now? What's my condition? What's my heart condition?
Mhm.
What am I forging? What am I doing? Where are my thoughts going? Why
Right.
why am I, what's mine, what's not mine? I mean, this is all an evaluation of what we need to be taking right now to our own selves, you
Yeah,
know.
it's the hero's journey,
It
but
is.
you're the author. That's the thing. That's what this is bringing up for me, is like, if you're reading a story about a hero's journey, right? It's Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or something like that. You can kind of trust that the author is taking you through a journey and that it's all meaningful and it's going somewhere that it's going to pay off in the end somehow, right? But when you're the one directing it, it's like, that's on you. Where is this journey going? Take And then that's why these are great opportunities to stop and take inventory of, like, where am I at? Wait, what is this story? How is this story unfolding? Am I on the right path? Or is this, like, if someone was reading the story of my life, am I setting them up for like disappointment, boredom, frustration? Right? You
Yeah.
watch a good movie and then the ending sucks, and you're just like, man,
Right.
I'll never get that time back. Well, how about your life? You never get that time back too if you waste your time here. And so, yeah, like I love this perspective of going back to the last solar eclipse as a good benchmark of, like,
It
where
is.
was I then?
Yeah.
What was I weaving into my web of weird at that moment, into my
Right.
own orlog,
Right.
and then follow that thread from there to here, and then project that forward. So it's like, how have things paid off and unfolded from that moment to where I am right now? Is this a good path? Do I want to continue on that? Have I been doing the work? And take that moment to just, like, hell yeah, feel proud of yourself, and like,
Yeah.
keep going because you're doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Or is it like, you need a major course correction, and then project that out to the next 13 years, to this next one,
Right.
and be like, does it make sense going from the point of 2017 to now, and connect that to 13 years out? And is that a linear, progression that you want to be, following, or leading, I should say?
Yeah. Yeah. It does. I think it really comes down to the absolute making a choice to do it. I mean, I know that in 2017, after everything that I had been through, been ripped apart mentally and physically for the 5 years before that, I was at a point where I was like, you know what? I'm making this choice and I'm never looking back. You got to make that choice. That's the warrior. When you're going to battle, you go to battle to fucking win. You don't go to battle to lose, do you?
Right.
No.
Absolutely.
You go to battle to win. And you've got to already see that victory in your mind's eye. See? And that's what this type of mentality, it is the path of the wolf, the dragon. You got to have that fire inside of you, that no matter what happens, no matter what takes place, number one, I'm not going to give up. Number two, if something gets toxic in my life, I'm going to remove it. It's not going to stay in my life. That toxicity can't stay there because it's only dragging me down. So I can't allow things to hook into my auric field, and that is where you do that healing work. When it comes up and something starts to get toxic in your life, whatever it may be, an addiction, a relationship, it doesn't matter what it is, you got to do something about it. You got to make the correct course corrections to actually empowering yourself to that greatness mindset, that not giving up mindset, that warrior mindset, that dragon energy that drives the narrative to actually to staying in alignment, getting in alignment and staying in alignment. And when you get out, you know you're out, and you pull yourself back into that alignment, into that Libra balanced energy. That's what it takes. And there's tools to use that are there, that and I know, and that we work with, that we use to help you do this. Not only that, but accountability to others in network and others who you are networking with in context to that. All of this works together to bring you into the next level and create better and better and better versions of yourself, on a weekly, monthly, and daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. And so when we're looking in retrospect back, to 2017, we're looking at what we have forged, what choices we've made, how far we've come, and be proud of what you forged in your life. See, start to have some pride for yourself. But then also there's the other part of that to see, okay, now where can I recalibrate to the next, making the next jump to making a better version of myself. And this is truly shamanic energy. I mean, literally, we're having a shamanic event right now. That's what this is. It's a shamanic event. So when we're looking at the shaman energy, becoming your own shaman is the goal. You don't need a guru or some half-baked guru out there telling you, oh man, let's come down and do some ayahuasca, man, and we'll just get plastered and you'll find out who you are. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that this is the mentality out there. We have to realize that you have your own pharmacy within yourself. You have everything within yourself to make it happen. You just got to tap into it. See,
absolutely.
And that is what you have to have, that mindset. You've got to have goals. You've got to have vision. You've got to have insight. You've got to have foresight. All of this has to be a part of your daily makeup in context to ritual, routine, and ceremony.
Well said, brother. Shout out to everybody in the live. We got 40 people tuning in. That's some good numbers right here. I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're getting value out of this, please hit the like. That really helps. I like to think of that thumbs up as a big middle finger to the algorithms and to these platforms that we're on. So play your part and help us out here. We are going to be jumping into some Q&A and open up the discussion here. So I guess I'll go ahead and add the invite link into the chat and pin it. Let's see here. Join the conversation. All right, and then that should be pinned at the top. So anybody that'd like to join us, Fred, I know you want to jump in, man. You always like to participate in these. again, thanks everyone tuning in. It's been a while. I really enjoyed doing these live kind of interactive, talks, and yeah, I I've been very busy on a new project that hopefully I get to announce very soon. But I think everyone's going to be really excited to see that. But yeah, before we kind of roll that, open it up, and let some other people jump in, Rodney, is there any other aspects of the astrological breakdown that we didn't get into yet?
Well, we also have right now conjunction with Saturn and Mars and Pisces right now. So that's a very powerful conjunction. I mean, when you're looking at Mars and Saturn, these are quote unquote, in the astrology world, malevolent planets, right? I mean, you're looking at Mars and Saturn getting together in conjunction in the sky in Pisces, you know. But I think, when we're looking at something like this, Mars is coming in, in conjunction with Saturn, and saying, okay, so Saturn is the great forger, right? Saturn is the great karmic, aspect of where things need to change. There's not Saturn will not let you off the hook, and it's a checklist, man. And so when we're looking at the Mars or the warrior energy to that, especially in Pisces, seeing the big picture. So this is a lot of the energy that we want, that's also prevalent, is looking at the big picture of your life and looking at it and making, sitting down and making a fucking checklist, man. Looking at it and saying, well, shit, did I actually accomplish the things that I actually set out to do? Or where am I still need to get my shit together? And so, Saturn's coming in there in Pisces, and Pisces, or the Pisces energy, where there's no boundaries, where you're seeing the big picture. You've got Saturn coming in saying, okay, where can we draw boundaries within that big picture so that you can actually implement, something into your own personal life that's going to bring a change. Look, you have to take time in isolation. You have to take time in ceremony with yourself. That's what Saturn in Pisces is all about. It's about taking the time in ceremony, in ritual, with yourself personally, on a personal level, and connecting with your Saturnian energy, looking where your limitations are, looking where you've been delayed, and then asking, seeking, and knocking, and looking, how can I flip those Saturnian energies within my own life so that I can be released by Saturn in context. And it's interesting. I'm looking at the chart today, and all of this in my area anyway, all this is happening in the 10th house, Capricorn. So when we're looking at that, and it's conjunct the MC line, which is your public life. So when we're looking at Saturn, we're looking at our public life, what we are forging in the public arena of what people are actually seeing us as. And so your Mars energy is coming in conjunct with that, which is your passion, which is your warrior, which is what you want to put into action, and so what are you forging, and are you able to see the big picture in context to your own life, and looking at it in a life review, in an overview, in a bird's eye view, and begin to actually see my accomplishments, see where I still have limitations and delays, where I haven't really fulfilled my Saturnian contracts in context to that, and then bring those karmic aspects, which is basically the non-awareness or the ignorance, and bring that karmic aspect into the light, into a place where I can truly look at it and say, okay, so I'm suffering because, boom, I'm suffering because of that. See? And so that suffering then is where our attachments are in context to things that are in ignorance. And that's another thing that's being signaled right now to this energy.
Right, right. Addiction to suffering, that's a big one right there, because
Yes.
again, taking it back to that schism of the self, that's a big theme we've been talking about here, is the importance of healing. And when you're psyche and your sense of self and your emotional body is fragmented, then, which so many people are, they will be looking to anything to graft onto to try to stuff in those holes to fill that void. And even if it, especially if it's toxic, because as within, so without, if you're
Yes.
grafting on coming from that place of shadow, then of course that's going to be a shadow aspect that you're trying to trauma bond with. And that doesn't mean
Yes.
it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a behavior, a belief, an
Right.
activity, anything like that.
That's right.
A politician, right? So being very conscious of what you're gravitating towards and your motivations behind that. Like, why am I so drawn to this? Why am I attached to this? Especially if you're aware of the suffering that it's causing you. Many people aren't even aware of that, or they don't put they don't put two and two together and say, oh, like that's the cause. Or they'll just justify it. Well, like, yeah, it's hard, but, or like a bad toxic relationship or something. And like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, relationships are supposed to be hard, right? But I need that, like I'm willing to fight for this, when you're really just like clinging on to, something that is one of those elephants on your back, like we discussed.
That's right. Yeah. The Saturn energy is kind of giving us that that look see into into our subconscious realm right now, unconscious and subconscious, which is the Piscean energy. When we're dealing with Neptune, Neptune is the healing waters. When you really look at it, to what Neptune represents. And with Uranus being that initiatory fire or spark, on the outer planets, and then Neptune kind of being the healing, and to Pluto the transformative aspect. So on these type of levels, we have to really look and say, okay, man, this is where we're coming, this is where we're going. How do I get to where my mind wants to be, but I'm not there yet? Okay, how do you do that? You see yourself already there. It's not, you're not trying to get there, you are there. And so once you start to cultivate that type of mindset, you eliminate the space and time kind of thing. So space and time then becomes irrelevant, because you're in the zero, you're in that eternal aspect, or the 0 point. And then you are able then to cultivate something in context to magic. That's where magic is created in no time. Saturn is what? Lord of what? Time.
The rings.
Exactly, man. So when you're looking at the ring is the 0. See? And so that's where the power is. The power is in the 0 and the 9.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn comes in as trying to forge you to the 0. That's Saturn's job. So that's why the karmic aspects and the suffering takes place. So it will drive you into a place where you can actually say, wow, I don't want to do this anymore. See? That's
Yes.
Saturn's job.
Suffering is the greatest teacher.
It is the pain, man.
Derek, what's up, my man? Thanks for joining us.
Yo, bonjour, fellas. Great to be with y'all once again, my friends.
Yeah. 0.5 of dissolving the divide
Yeah,
joining us today. Yeah.
yeah, indeed. And definitely feeling what you were just saying, Rodney. I love that. And yeah, taking it back to the 0, must be talking about, being in the center, the fulcrum of the circle of the magician, if you want to call it. And yeah, I'm sure you guys noticed. I mean, there's like an overabundance of memes for like any little thing happening these days, but especially with the eclipse, and it's becoming more mainstream and yada yada with all the hoopla, distractions after distractions that are taking us away from what? Ourselves, to be in that I am and stuff. And yeah, it's funny, Rodney, like talking about, just having proper time with yourself. And like, I've been by myself, for months on end, isolated. But at the same time, I don't take proper time for myself. I just, I'm on the computer. It's like I'm in the lab and all this stuff, but I don't, you know, I don't really take in that full hermit energy to kind of just like, all right, man, you know, get into your little, you know, sacred moment, you know, do some all that stuff, you know. So yeah, like really making the I am all caps, right?
Somebody just said Jesus hasn't shown up today.
Yeah.
I know.
Right? Yeah.
Fashionably late as usual.
Oh,
Jesus.
that's funny.
Yo, Derek, I want to comment on what you said, because this is a kind of an idea that I've been playing with, of the masculine and the feminine, as human beings, male and female, and how our magic is actually quite different for men and for women. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but it's a really interesting concept that I'll probably be doing more on. But just to kind of like illuminate on that, you're talking about sort of leaning into that yin energy, going within, and meditation, and like me time, right? Being with yourself and stuff. And by all means, that is great. And I think that has a place for every human being to some degree. But I do think that it's a little bit different for men and women. And what I mean is, I think that that energy is a lot more important for women. That sort of self-care, go take a bath, you know, be in meditation, being alone, and that sort of thing. And like I said, I think that is important for men too. I'm not making blanket or just complete extreme statements, but I think there's a lot to be said about what action does for a man, and how he can be with himself while he's doing the work, right? That is where he's kind of often going inwards, right? Like there's a time to be externally aware and make sure you're not messing stuff up and causing issues, or whatever it may be. But if you're in the zone and you're like, you know, just something simple like editing a video or driving my truck, these are actions that I'm doing, where some people would say, oh, but that's just work. All you do is work. And that's kind of true. Like most people would actually probably say I'm imbalanced in that way, or that I work too much. But I don't see it that way. I'm with myself the whole time. And sometimes I have more freedom or mental capacity to go within, versus having to be totally present with what I'm doing. But I just want to really emphasize that, like for men, there's a lot of power and healing too, in that aspect of being totally immersed in action, and let that be that healthy outlet that actually gives you energy rather than draining you.
Yeah, I like that a lot, man. For real. And yeah, just getting into that meditative mind state to where it makes you, you know, do some deep reflection and introspection and any kind of internal or external correction. But but yeah, have you guys noticed how scared these motherfuckers are these days?
Yeah, of course.
Like, holy smokes, you know? But yeah, like real quick with the, you know, like the cosmic egg and all this stuff, or like, you know, with the whole rockets and this and that, you know, phallic symbols, you know, skyrocketing to kind of, you know, steal the show of the moon thing. What's up with that, right? Is that some kind of symbolic thing going on with these technocratic cowardice computer nerd fuckers?
Could be, actually. Seems legit.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, man. I you know, again, most everything that happens on an external level is there to distract you from going within yourself. And I think a lot of times, you know, we can get on, you know, with all kinds of different things. But again, going back to the isolation or the Piscean energy, you know, in context to this, as a man personally, when I go to ritual, or when I go to the circle, or whatever it may be, I'm forging my warrior aspect. I'm forging the aspect of how am I personally as a man, you know, what am I forging? What am I creating? What am I building? And you know, this is the testosterone, right? I mean, this is what we are as men. You know, the bridges, the roads. I mean, that doesn't get built without testosterone. You know, so when we're looking at, as a man, when we go to ritual, I'm connecting with my ancestral energy. I'm connecting with the archetypes, you know, within the mythos of certain, archetypes that I connect with, like Tyr. Tyr is one that I
Yeah.
connect with very, very much. It's a very powerful archetype for me. And so this is our warrior aspect in context to this. As a man, women have a different connection. They're
Right.
wired different,
Mhm.
and they carry the moon cycles and the moon energy. Someone just talked about that,
Right.
or commented about that. And men, we are the sun. In context to what we're lighting up, what we're forging, what we're building, and that is
Projecting, right?
projecting,
Penetrating.
right? That is that sun and moon energy. See, when we're
Yeah.
looking at that positive and negative charge, and so we have to be that sun. We have to be that that penetrator, that sun
The
energy.
widow's son.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the emasculation that's taking place
Oh,
with
yeah.
men on the planet. See, to get them feminized, to get them into their basically neutered place,
Mhm.
where they have they have no balls anymore, and
Mhm.
so this is what's happened to our society. I'm looking at things and I'm going, holy crap, man. From the time that I went into business back in the 90s and actually, did something to now, whoa, what a difference. What a difference in the mindset and the work pool all the way down the whole, I was just blown away, man. How much different it is, right now.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of times we have to understand as men that we are the leaders. We are the ones that are actually forging something. We have that power to do it. We have to remember, that's who we are as men, and I really, to all the men that are out there doing it, man, kudos to you, man. Keep going, keep doing it, keep empowering yourself, because this is who we have to be. We have to be that masculine, true masculine force. I don't like I'm getting tired of the divine masculine title and all that shit. Just be the masculine force within your own life, you know? And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I am doing.
Yeah, if it's not the divine masculine, then it's toxic anyways, right? So it's not really
Exactly.
masculine. Not
Right,
really. You
exactly.
don't need all these extra labels. It's either
Yeah.
masculine or it's not.
Just be a man, for God's sakes.
Right. Right.
Yeah, don't know about you guys, but like doing physical work, and especially if it's something
Yes.
constructive, and if we're helping neighbors or friends, building something, helping them with their house or gardening and stuff. I don't know, I just like feed off that energy or like build onto it or something like that. I can work like tirelessly for 8 hours straight, no problem. Usually, like one meal a fucking day. Like
Mhm.
I'm just like energized by certain things and like wanting to do good. Just
Yeah.
like being in alignment, it feels fucking awesome, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm working on a new presentation. That's part of what I haven't revealed yet, so not to give anything away, but I worked on slides for 14 hours straight the other day.
Wow.
I had the day off, so I was parked in a good spot.
Yeah.
I took 2 breaks to eat, and other than that, it was slides from the time I got up till the time and then I finished. And it felt so freaking good. So it's like that's what I mean is I just did that. And unlike if I worked 14 hours in a freaking factory or something like that, where I'd be exhausted and just wanting to I felt invigorated. I was like, that's it. No more slides. I'm like, I'm ready to keep going, you know?
Yeah, that's what we do. We forge. I know that, I started building some things too, and just projects I was putting into my business, and it felt good to grab some wood, to grab some stuff, and start putting it together and constructing something. That actually felt good to me, and it gave me like a really strong um, heart presence when I was doing that. I have a Capricorn South node, so that's a lot of who I am, the goat. I am here to forge stuff. I'm here to build. That's who I am. And so that's why you need to know your templating. You need to know your solar spiral, looking at your nodal points, looking at your energies, because that's who you are. That's what you're here to do. And so, tapping into that, building foundations and Capricorn energy, putting things together, building something, it really felt good, man. I actually, it's like, my God, and then I started to love what I was doing with my hands, you
Mm.
know, whatever it may be, doing slides, building something, it doesn't matter. When you're doing something like that and you're actually accomplishing something in a powerful way, it is an alchemical process that you're in the midst of. That is
Yeah.
powerful, powerful motivating factor.
It's amazing how much power that gives you when you're actually creating and from your own passion and soul and desires, instead of just giving your energy to someone else because you have to, because you don't want to be homeless. Like
Right.
the difference is just mind blowing. Yeah. And until you experience that for yourself, you'll never know. You'll just think, oh, work is work. I'd rather, I already work enough as it is. I'd rather just, all my spare time, I'll just, play video games and escape from reality.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
not to brag, but just to hopefully be inspirational and share as an example. I drive this truck every single day, most times between like 8 and 10 hours a day. And when I get parked, um, I come back here into the like the living area of the truck. I fire up my laptop and I do my work, right?
Yeah.
I work all day for the man so that I
Right.
can keep advancing my situation and I'm working towards financial goals. And
Yeah.
then that day ends and my day begins. And I
Yeah.
come back here and I'm working on this new project. I'm editing videos and recording videos and all kinds of other stuff.
Do it lives.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. I mean, I actually stopped. I've got more work to do after this, but the timing was right, and so I had to kind of stop here where there's good signal, because where I'll be going is not good. But anyways, yeah. My point is, it's like you can do it, because I can do it, then you can do it. It just find out what actually motivates you to the point where you would want to, go home after a long day working and do more work, and it doesn't feel like work. Sometimes it
Yeah.
does, and sometimes it's a fucking grind. I'm not going to lie to you, you know but when you're doing something towards a real goal that's for
Yeah.
you and no
Yeah.
one else, and you get to reap the benefits of
Yeah.
that instead of somebody else, siphoning your energy and exploiting you, and then you're left with the scraps. That is just, you can't know until you try it for yourself, but it's life changing. And now it's like I couldn't, like, I try to unwind sometimes and just play video games, and sometimes I can't. Like, sometimes I enjoy myself, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm being, I don't know, like I should be doing something else, like more productive.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
your
me.
sun, and that's your sun energy, man. I mean, when you can find your passion and what lights your sun,
Yeah,
then that's when it's not work.
I
It's
believe I
not
have
it's not work anymore. See?
I believe I have Aries in my North Node.
Yeah, right.
That would be some of that as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Virgo as well. Just that meticulous.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, that's part of it, and so, I think that a lot of people need to ask that question. What lights my soul, man? What am I excited about? What gives me passion as a man, as a woman? Where is it that I can take something that I love to do, something that I really love, and then forge that into the reality field? You know,
I got the perfect. Come on, baby, light my fire.
right? Exactly.
Because we got the Doors theme going on
I
today.
know, right? Exactly. No, no, that's right, man. Right,
Ooh,
exactly.
ooh. Can I share my passion? Because yeah, what
Absolutely,
gets me
you're in a
fired up
safe
is
place, Derek.
and yeah, in contrary to what you spoke about earlier, Rodney, and yeah, I kind of unfortunately would agree that or rather we are in unfortunate draconian and dystopian times, and we've seen how many umpteen movies that are like dystopian based, but how many are actually utopian based, right? It's like people don't have the imagination activated to actually
Yeah.
visualize that. So what's up with the master builders trying to being able to do what they do best, and like let's create that hermetically sealed society type of shit.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times, man, we are the master builders. And that's kind of what we have to look at. That's that 22 number, right? And honestly, man, I'm at a point I don't pay much attention to the bullshit no more, man. And that's because I'm forging something. If you like Logan, you know this, and Derek, you know this. If you are actually putting your consciousness and you're forging, you're building something in, to your soul's purpose, to what you're doing, that becomes, like the focus of your energy, where you're putting your mindset. I mean, look, we're here to be way shores. We're here to help other people. We're here to, do the readings, do all this stuff, right? But the most important thing is you, see, and what your mindset and what you're forging, your state of mind is, and how you're wielding that consciousness within yourself, your own internal dialogue. I was talking to a guy, he's a philosopher. He's in my band. He was a philosophy teacher at DePaul University for 20 some years. And he said to me, he said, do you realize that almost 70% of people don't have an internal monologue?
Mm-hmm.
That's mind blowing. 70% of the world does not have an internal dialogue going on within themselves. And I said, is it that high? He goes, yeah. He goes, literally, people don't have an internal dialogue going on.
NPCs,
They have no monologue within themselves.
It's NPC behavior. It's like their voice has been so like shamed and like stifled within them. It's like it's still there, but it's so quiet that they're just like programmed, just kind of going through the motions on things, and there's no voice being like, oh, what does that mean? Or like, I wonder why things are this way, or that sort of thing.
Right. And so, without that internal dialogue going on within yourself, you're not asking that. Like, Logan, you're not asking the questions like, what am I doing? Why am I here? What's the purpose of all this? Why am I on this planet at this time? Where am I going? All these great questions that you could ask yourself on an internal basis, which would be giving that energy to the actual universe itself, actually in vibration, actually putting it out there so that those answers can come back to you in the form of vibrational correspondence. And that's a lot of what people are missing out on. And so they aren't asking those questions. So what's the universe giving them? They're just continuing to get the same bullshit over and over and over, because they aren't having an internal dialogue. There's no internal soul awakening. And that's a lot of what's going on the planet, in context to people in general. That's why, the zombie movies, we see all this shit going on, man, because it's like, people are all fashioned to be the same, in the same archetypal programming and dialogue, and they can't seem to break out of the tesseract, out of that box. And a lot of times I think that's why we're here, man. We're here to hold that. We're here to be that. That's who we are. And as we continue to infect the collective with our consciousness, I believe that more and more and more of this will begin to break open as we continue to level up, as we continue to create that internal dialogue on another level, and create that vibration, that correspondence, that frequency on in context to emotion or energy in motion, and those frequencies that are being emitted from our heart core intelligence, that then will have an impact upon the reality field itself. And this is why people get their platforms taken down. They get fucked with on in the ethers. And that's what the internet is. It's the ethers in context to this, because this is actually having an impact upon the collective consciousness.
Absolutely. Yeah. Still got 40 viewers concurrently. That's freaking awesome. Seems like people are really digging it and they're sticking around. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate you. And of course, if you haven't hit the like button yet, please do that real quick. Just takes 1 second. Really helps us out. Fred, we
Shit, I gotta
see
go
you
back.
here, but
Freddie,
your camera's off.
one of
You
me.
Can't see you, man.
you playing incognito today, or
He just had a baby yesterday. Congratulations.
and
Fred, if
feel
you're not
free
there,
to
can I
let
ask you real quick a question, Rodney? And this just,
Yeah, sure.
it ties into the last thing you said, and just it's incredible. 70% people void of an internal monologue. So does that mean with that void, they're a lot more susceptible to external dialogue? So there's other programs running in their brain, not their own proper cognitive consciousness.
That's exactly what it is, and this is the polytricks. This is the religion. The religious programs. It's all of it. The psyops. The bridge collapse. The this, the that. They just keep going on and on with shit, and so it fills the mind of people. And hey, look at the sports. It's the same thing, man. It's all designed to keep humanity from waking up, keeping their soul from waking up, their soul spark from being ignited. That's why, and this is why, Seth talks about it all the time. Ignition of the star core. This is what it's about. See, and if you don't have that ignition of your star core, then you're not going to have an internal monologue, are you? How are you going to hear the God voice within you, the actual voice of who you are, and have that dialogue within yourself?
Yeah, another question I had.
Sometimes I answer my own questions.
In regards to like the shadow ego kind of running that inner monologue, for those that actually have something there kind of thing, and how it kind of gets overtaken, especially if you're a guy and you got a fire sign like me. Growing up, I was like temper tantrums and kind of like you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Logan,
it took a while to fix
when you're driving your truck. I know you're having an internal monologue going on. And your wheels are turning about this and that, and then you start following it, and it's like all of a sudden things drop into your spirit, just like boom. It's like, oh, damn, I never thought about that. That shit happens, man.
And then it's like, whoa, what state am I in? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for me, making time to
Elle a déjà un sirop.
I hear children.
Vas-y, va prendre le sirop qu'il y a là-bas.
Fred, we can hear you. Just can't see you. Not sure if Fred can hear us. I'll just let him work that out for the time being. Yeah, I was just saying that making time to think, but also utilizing plenty of time to take in information, to listen to someone else's inner monologue being spoken externally, so to speak. Rodney, did we cover everything you wanted to cover? Just to make sure.
Yeah,
I got some before you, Rodney.
Pretty much, man.
If you don't mind, Logan. Because this talks about the soul being eclipsed, in this reality field and all this with the Metatronic reversals and yada yada, the Saturn moon matrix, and all the fuckery on quite the multi-dimensional levels and all that. And how can we flip the script and be like, hey, motherfucker, eclipse this? And just, I don't know, like, how can people really, untangle themselves from this, whatever you want to call it, entrapment, programming, manipulation, the whole nine, and take it back to the nine, the true one?
Well, the key is to make a choice, to actually make a choice. You could look like, we were talking earlier, Logan and I were talking earlier, you can look at the eclipse a few different ways. You can look at it as a wedding, as a connection, as a union between sun and moon. between your actual, soul and your navigation, which is your thought and your emotion, being in alignment with your soul's purpose and your incarnational purpose here on the planet, and then bringing that into manifestation. Or it could be also that, the eclipsed heart core intelligence is happening with humanity, so they don't have that internal monologue going on. And then that's a lot of what's happening as well. I mean, the question resides with each individual. The first thing you got to do is you got to start asking some fucking questions. I mean, that really is where it comes down to. You got to start asking.
Yeah, if you're not asking questions, you're not on a quest.
You're not. Yep.
The questions lead the quest. What quest am I on? It's the quest I on.
Yeah. Am I my own hero? This is my journey. This is my, my life's, my soul's path, my soul's journey. Right. So, am I writing the script of my life? Am I writing it, or is someone else writing it?
Sounds like some internal monologue coming out there, Rodney.
I know, right? But that's the truth of it. I mean, if we're really going to be on the hero's journey, then I have to be the main character of my own script in context to what I'm writing and what I'm forging within the book. See?
Mm-hmm.
And so, am I actually Neo? Am I actually that script? Am I actually awakening to the true hero that I am? See? Being that I am presence.
How you doing, man? Got the sun right behind you. That's a creative little director shot. Yeah. Thanks for joining us,
I'm happen to have my baby boy this weekend, fresh new baby, and I'm very happy about it. And life goes really fast. And essentially, I was very interested by Rodney takes on things, and I appreciated your word, man. Your work is awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I didn't get where you were at when I arrived because the connection was broken. So now it works.
Yeah. Welcome to the chat,
brother. Good.
One thing I wanted to bring up that I was contemplating earlier was some of the stuff that I was seeing. People saying stuff like, shout out to all the people who just are. Basically, it was a reductionist mindset of saying like, y'all are crazy for thinking that the eclipse is anything other than the moon going in front of the sun, right? Total materialist mindset. And what that sort of struck with me was the dialectic there showing up.
Yeah.
That either it's a total materialist, meaningless, nonsensical, it's a non-event, right? It's just, this blob of mass went in front of this other blob of mass, big deal. Versus what they were kind of pointing to was all of the doom and gloom, fear porn kind of stuff. That's the other side of the dialectic.
Yeah.
And I pointed that out in the comment. I said it's neither and both, right? It is physical, an event. It's also not cataclysmic doom and gloom shit either. And it is very meaningful metaphysically. And it's a big mistake to just ignore and discount all of that, because again, it's happening. As an animist, I understand that I'm part of nature, and nature is part of me. So I can't ignore what's going on out there when that's part of me, and it's having an effect on me as well. And then the true magician knows that any event has a charge that you can tap into and use it to your advantage to alchemize and transmute that for yourself. So I just really wanted to point that out, of like that false dichotomy between, it's just meaningless materialist stuff, and it's not a doomsday, like fear, fearful. That just goes to show on the other end how afraid people are of nature and disconnected from that. Not seeing the interconnectedness and the usefulness of all things in nature, and not viewing it from a very black and white, good and evil kind of perspective.
I mean, so much stuff has to be covered just to scratch the surface of all this, and I think people are afraid of what they don't understand.
Definitely.
And it's pretty much the basic for mind control as such. And this fear of the unknown is really a repressive force on the meta aspect and the psychological aspect. Some people will invent some stories, and some cults will get even crazier in these times, and those are response from deep inadequacies when it comes to knowledge and the connection we have with nature, and even in the meta, how you guys mentioned it so beautifully earlier, and the connection with nature. This world is it's fueling on fear and deceptions and lies and stories, and most of them are stories, until you see the truth. You can hear about eclipses, but the only time you can really judge it is when you're actually seeing it. It's an experience thing. So I watched it earlier. It was fucking gorgeous. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's really brief, 2 minutes, something like that. But it is powerful. It's something. It's the symbol and the corona and all these things that are attached to the monarchy and all the symbolism from the ancient world and the actual world that we're living in. So if I say nonsense, I encourage people to correct me in this. This is my humble opinion, actually. So this is where we have to grow out of the shell, grow out and work for something useful and constructive and generative, in the sense of creation of freedom, creation of sovereignty, shadow working, and all these things that are very insightful in the growth of human beings as in everyone in society as in general.
Yeah, totally agree, man. And to your point about the fear of the unknown, what do people fear more than anything and do not understand more than anything? Themselves. And taking it back to correspondence, this external event is something that is happening internally as well. And of course, they're going to fear it because they don't understand it, let alone taking advantage of it, making the most of that.
Yeah, autophobia. There's a name for that.
Autophobia. Yes.
The fear of the unknown is because they don't know who they are. That is the fear of the unknown in context.
And their power as well.
Yeah.
Like people are afraid of, everyone talks about the fear of failure, but no one talks about the fear of success, right? Because it's a projection. They don't feel worthy. They feel powerless. And so they would be terrified if they actually had something good happen to them, because they would feel like they don't deserve it, and that's why people
shame and guilt, man.
That's why people win the lottery and then it fucks them up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Shame and guilt, the programs of shame and guilt in context of the religious constructs have been running people's minds for eons. And you got to get past the shame. You got to get past the guilt and the bullshit of the programming that you've been told. Like you said, Fred, the stories, the fucking stories. See, and that's what you've been told, you know.
That's ego, Rodney. That's
Yeah.
ego, and you need to humble yourself to the Lord.
Exactly. Exactly. But this is the reality of it, you know. And so then how do they spin that? They say, okay, well, if you give your power away to this, then you accept that sacrifice, right? Then then all the shame and the guilt was put on him. And so now you don't have to deal with your own shame and guilt, which only amplifies the shame and guilt.
Yep. I feel shame and guilt for feeling shame and guilt,
Right.
and so on and so forth, and around you go,
Right.
chasing the tail. You know.
And that is the inverted, or what we call the snake eating its tail, in
Yeah.
context to what what Jormungandr, if you want to look at it in
Yes.
context to Norse mythology.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Where does that stem from, you think? Is it really just a lack of self-esteem, that kind of stuff, which stems from them not knowing themselves and yada yada? And yeah, I don't know, like fear of having to take responsibility for themselves too, coupled with a couple of things. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the age of Taurus, man. This is the Taurus energy in context to learning how to actually have some fucking self-worth. And that is that second gate in context to Taurus itself, and taking it back to the age of Taurus, where things got really raked out and fucked up, when shit was going down, coming out of that last ice age that we had 13,000 years ago. We're dealing with we're dealing with things coming up back on the review, back up on the cycle, in context to the actual consciousness of humanity itself. And this is why that second gate's so important. People don't understand it, but this is why.
This just struck me as well. You were talking about the Taurus, that Taurus energy is all of that Venusian energy of pleasure and material resources, all the things that people don't feel worthy of, or they feel guilt for desiring that or allowing them to feel those things or enjoy those things. Well, what is your self-worth always tied back to? It's your polarity. It's the giving and receiving, or the toroidal field. So the Taurus is the toroid, the Taurus.
Yeah.
I never thought of that or made that connection in that way before, but that's incredible, because even taking back to polarity work, that's exactly how it works. It's all about your self-worth, right? A man in his masculine polarity values himself to not allow himself to be penetrated energetically.
Right.
It's that self-worth. So and vice versa. The feminine wants to receive. That's her nature, but she doesn't feel worthy of receiving. So that's where like the people pleaser, or the anticipating all his needs and being mommy for the man comes in, because it's like, well, he does all these wonderful things for me and I don't feel worthy, so therefore I'm constantly looking for ways to try to like give back and compensate, instead of just, no, the gift is you're receiving. The man just wants to see you receive the gift of all of his provision and leadership and all of these things, and just see you enjoy that. That's enough for us. We don't need you to like give all this stuff back, because that's inverting the toroidal field, inverting the polarity. Anyway, a bit of a side tangent, but
that does take it back to the actual, when you're looking at the Taurus energy, self-destruction, that lack of self-worth, self-sabotage, all that's incorporated within that gate.
The shadow side.
Exactly, when you're looking at it. And so then that takes it back to, okay, is a man worth the money that he makes? Which is the bull in context to, what we're looking at in finances. So that takes it to the financial aspect in context to that. See, so it all intertwines together, when you're looking at, and Taurus is actually the connection to the earth itself. That is the second gate, which is the actual connection to the nature, to the earth. It is the taproot of the seed in context. See, the radicals and the taproot of the seed, as it taps into the earth itself. That is Taurus.
Yeah. The grounding. Grounding down
exactly.
earth energy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Othala as well,
Yeah,
right?
right.
The roots going down.
Yes,
That's your home, your homeland, that sort of thing. The roots, the
yes,
heritage,
that's
the
right.
legacy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. So,
good stuff.
when you're looking at the Taurus energy, it is very Venetian in context, and then that's why relationships are so fucked up, because then that also seventh gate runs to that energy as well, which is partnerships and relationships. So how you treat yourself is how you treat someone else. See, what you're internally doing within yourself is how you're really wielding out to the relationship with your partner, of your mate, of your wife, of your spouse, of your girlfriend, whatever, boyfriend, whatever. And so then that's why relationships are so fucked up and aren't working, because I haven't really done anything to love myself. See,
Oh
so
yes.
that's a lot of
There,
it.
that sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, no, I'm
But
good.
I talked with Derek and Leslie yesterday about the principle of rhythm, and I think it's not a coincidence that we're talking about this afternoon. The principle of rhythm is impermanence, principle of change.
Yeah.
So everything is changing all the time, and so are the masses, and so are the programs, and so are the cultures, and the world we're all sharing. It's all where it's a transformative, generative expression. And when you mentioned it, Logan, earlier, I think the inversion of everything. I think it was someone else, but the inversion of everything. And I mean, this is where the solution resides. Actually, is to, like I mentioned with Derek and Leslie, that we need to slow the balance and take back this inertia, this neutral zone of behaviors. This is why we have all these principle of natural law, and I invite people to not take any opinion for cash. You have to discover it by yourself and understand these principles and explore all of the occult as such.
Yes, absolutely, man. Yeah, when you're looking at the law of rhythm, or the principle of rhythm itself, it is understanding the place of rest. Finding that place where you're not charged. I mean, it's so easy to get charged on all kinds of different things in your life. Things try to hook into your work field. To try to pull that pendulum, pull you to the left, pull you to the right. You know, and the key is to find, again, when we're looking at Libra, we're looking at the balance of scales. We're looking at Anubis. We're looking at what is actually, is my heart right? See, and is am I in balance with my heart core intelligence, with my third eye, with my first eye? Are they in balance? Are they in rhythm with each other? Or am I being pulled to the back and forth, on the pendulum swing? This is what Polytrix does. It's designed to swing the pendulum, you know, and create energy, so that energy can be siphoned off. And that's what they use. They use that law of rhythm, that
Yep.
principle of rhythm, to do that.
Yep.
You know.
Hegelian dialectic,
Yep.
polarization.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
All these damn pendulums,
Yes.
which is interesting. That it's another term used in transurfing, which kind of means all these egregores, these things created, causing certain momentum towards certain things, and that's why they seed the masses with all these little tidbits of programming and all that. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Anubis and all that with the seventh gate, Rodney, because that's something I wanted to mention. Thinking about coming on to chat with you guys in regards to taking it back to the heart center, and being centered, like you said, and so with everyone's getting their heartstrings pulled this way and that way, we really do need to go back to center, that true awakened heart chakra, and keeping it light as a feather, no matter the weather, keeping true to the endeavor, I guess, like, because what's going to happen when you go and say what's up to Anubis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, it's relationships that do this. That's why they're
Mm-hmm.
so important, because the feminine and the masculine aspect is really where the strings are. We all know as men that when we are masculine in our masculine force, we can't break our frame in context to that. See? And so this is where things get pulled because of that manipulation. See? And
Mm-hmm.
and literally, like, the feminine and masculine force, if it's not in alignment, then that's where you get hooked in on, and you get pulled. And then nothing can, excuse my language, nothing can fuck up a man more than that type of thing with a woman. Where it pulls you into that polarity and gets you off balance, gets you out of your purpose, gets you out of your building mode, gets you out of your actual your projection and your building and your sun energy, and gets you pulled into that moon energy, into that feminine aspect. It can mess you up mentally, emotionally, all the way down the line. That's why it's so important to be with to realize when it becomes toxic, not to break your frame, but you got to be able to walk away from that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to walk away from that as a man and not allow that in your life.
Well, yeah, in context to emotional mind control, the ultimate question that everyone should ask themselves is, what do they truly care about? And why? And how is that guiding your behavior? Are you guiding it, or is someone else pulling your emotional
Right.
strings because they've implanted cares and desires that aren't even yours, and then exploiting that? There's all these hot button issues and controversial topics, and it's all fucking bullshit.
It is.
Like,
Yeah.
really, people care about all the shit that doesn't really matter, and then all the shit that really matters, nobody cares about. That's a huge problem in this world right now.
Yeah.
Is where's the care? Where are those heartstrings attached to?
Yeah.
And you can control that through your knowledge and awareness via the trivium,
Right.
the way you see the world, and your true understanding and awareness of how the world works, the laws that govern nature will tell you what you should care about. Truth, for example, that's one of the highest things you can care about, because if you don't care about that, everything, your whole foundation is quicksand, and you're absolutely messed up. You're not going to
Yeah.
have any stability, you're not going to have any creative potency or sovereignty or personal agency. Every part of your being is at fault in that position. So, but once you care about truth, everything else starts to kind of fall into place as well, because that is your north star, that is your guiding light. And then you can start to sift through all of the noise and the bullshit and figure out what's being pushed on you and what's being hid from you, and what should you really care about and what should you not really care about, and get yourself oriented and get all of that stuff worked out. And then you'll be a lot more clear and stable and focused and less manipulatable, if that's a word. Less gullible and less easy to be just like pushed around and leashed out to all these different agendas that are absolutely being waged against you.
Yeah, and that's your moon energy, man. When it gets jammed like that, your navigation, and you're not aligning yourself with truth, that moon energy then becomes manipulated in context to your emotional intelligence. And that's where you get in the shit, because you get pulled in and hooked in on, and then you get pulled off into some bullshit. See? And that is how, as a man, you got to be able to navigate your moon energy, well, even women, but especially men, in context to relationships, because you got to be able to know when things are toxic, and if you can't work it out and you can't bring it back into alignment, then you can't break your frame. You've got to be able to walk away from that. See? And if you can't walk away from that, then you got a problem. See? That's a problem.
And admitting you have a problem is the first step.
Exactly, man. So that's
second step is find Jesus.
That's right. Well, we all need to find Jesus. I can tell you that right now. That's what they told me anyway.
Fred's out. I guess he had connection issues again. Thanks for joining us, Fred.
Yeah,
if you
thanks,
can hear
man.
us,
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, ciao, brother.
And just as well, probably a pretty good time to start wrapping things up.
Yeah,
We're coming right here.
I got
coming right up on
today.
the 2-hour mark. So this was an excellent conversation, and we kept really good viewers the whole time. I mean, honestly, amazing to see. And thanks for everyone for tuning in and really hearing us out and listening to these what I think are very important topics, not to sound too self-absorbed, but I think these are important things that people need to be talking about instead of all this doomsday apocalypto crap. Ironically, if you look at that movie, that is the cover is the eclipse, right? Apocalypto, and is all this human sacrifice and stuff going on. Kind of makes you wonder if they were kind of trying to plant those little seeds of fear subliminally associated with that.
Sure.
Yeah, there's just a lot of that fear porn going on, and it's all tapped into that the fear programming, and people just not knowing who they are. I mean, man, when are people going to start looking from an eternal perspective and quit this? Just being pulled into all this bullshit all the time, man. Jesus Christ, we are in a journey of eternity, my friends. Get your shit together. Start thinking like that. This is an eternal journey, and we're in the midst of a war on consciousness right now, unlike we've ever seen. And we're here on this timeline. We're here in this realm right now to do something about it.
Right.
And it's with you. You got to do it. I have to do it. No one's going to do it for you. You are responsible for your choices.
Right. Drop the savior bullshit.
Stop it.
Drop the victim bullshit. Drop all the bullshit.
What do you mean? Jesus didn't come through today? What the hell?
Yeah,
I know he let us down, man. Yeah, that's why you can't depend on saviors, because they're unreliable. You know what I mean?
Well,
I thought we were supposed to embody that Christ consciousness, each and every one of us, type of thing.
Not only that,
be our own saviors,
but the whole idea that someone can do it for you is an absolute fucking mind fuck.
It's fucked on both ends, because first of all, why would it why would that what am I trying to say? Why would someone owe that to you first of all? But the more important question is, why would you want that? Right? You might as well just keep living in your parents' basement the rest of your life and let them bring you little pizza bites every day. Here's your lunch, Johnny. Because you're not a man or a woman. You're just a child. You don't want to grow up.
Yeah, if you don't, if you can't take responsibility for your own distortions and your own bullshit, and you need a scapegoat, you need someone else to pin that on, pin the tail on the fucking donkey, right? Then what the hell are you'll never get out of that programming if you continue to make those choices to that. That's why, I was listening to Jordan Maxwell the other day, one of his dissertations, and he was talking about this. He was saying Christianity is much older than Judaism. Judaism was invented after Christianity, literally. And so when we start to look at this whole Abrahamic construct all the way down, you look at it, Christianity's the sun, Islam's the moon, and Judaism is Saturn.
The star. Yeah.
Yeah. you start looking, and that is the Saturn moon matrix in context to eclipsing the sun and your purpose by what we're talking about, giving your power away and not actually doing something about your own life, but putting it on someone else to do it for you. And now I'm saved, I'm in, I don't have to do anything, I'm good now, man. I said the magic fucking words, and I'm good. I'm good to go.
Yep.
You're in a fucking illusion if that's what you think.
Well said, man.
That's that Abrahamic bullshit.
All right, folks, that is going to wrap us up for today. I think that's as good a place as any. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. I think we covered a lot of really good ground. Please do like and share. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell so you always get notified when I drop new stuff. And happy eclipse, everyone. Have a conversation with Jesus for leaving us, for ghosting us as usual. And we'll see you on the next video. But much love, everyone.
Yep.
And
thanks,
thanks, Rodney, for all your astrological wisdom.
Yeah.
Hit him
up for service, man. I'm
sure
you got a reading. I got one. It was really powerful.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and thanks, Derek,
Awesome,
for jumping on as well, man.
Yeah.
Always appreciate you.
Hey, man, great. Glad you had time to do the live, man. It's good.
Yeah, it worked out great. Yeah. All right, well, we'll see everyone in the next one. But until then, be empowered, inspired, and encouraged. Peace out.